Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. We've got a frontal boundary extended across the Corn Belt right now, stationary here, kind of through the eastern Corn Belt, and then coming back down here across the southern plains. So we're warm and muggy here across the eastern Corn Belt, across the mid-south, temperatures in the mid-60s to the lower 70s, but then as you head back off to the west and to the north, much cooler. You head into the central plains, we're in the 50s across Kansas and Nebraska, but head northward into Minnesota and Wisconsin. We've actually got some freezing temperatures up there, some cold air across the north woods in that area. We've got some freeze warnings in effect. So we take a look at the satellite picture, satellite and lightning. Here is our big cutoff low. This is the one that dove down across the Rockies early this week, delivering the cold air and the wintry blast there to parts of the Rockies. It's continued to be cut off there across the Rockies. It's starting to once again lift and migrate slowly into the northern plains. It'll do so and move into the Midwest as we get into the weekend, finally rejoining the polar jet and moving across the Great Lakes into the Northeast, bringing this to an end. But over the next couple of days, we'll continue to see showers and storms across this region. We're starting to tap out here, so much of the heaviest rain has fallen at this point, but still another inch or so on the table across parts of Missouri, Iowa, northern Illinois as we head through the next 24 to 36 hours. As we look at the last 7 days, that's where much of the rain has been focused over the last week or so, and that's great news across Iowa into northern Illinois, and then even eastward into parts of northern Indiana and northern Ohio. We had some dryness there, so to get some beneficial rainfall, some heavy rainfall, and to do it without a lot in the way of severe weather has been really great to see. This is the Drought Monitor Map that came out just a couple of days ago, and of course we still have severe drought ongoing, extreme drought across parts of Iowa. With severe drought spotty in places across parts of Illinois and Indiana. Of course, all of the rainfall that's been falling this week not entirely being shown in this map. So I'm sure we'll see some moderation with some of that drought across at least Iowa into northern Indiana as we get the next update next week. Looking at the next 7 days, we're looking at the weekly precipitation forecast here from NOAA, and I just want to kind of break this in half here, noting that, a lot of this that falls here across Missouri into Missouri into Iowa and Illinois into Wisconsin. This falls over the next 24 to 48 hours as this cutoff low begins to eject from the Rockies and lift through this region. We'll take a front through the area, bring in much less humid air to the region. Of course, it's not all that unbearable right now. We're talking about mid-60s dew points across parts of the Midwest in this area, but we'll be bringing in 50s dew points as we head into the weekend. So we'll see some additional shower and thunderstorm activity across parts of eastern Iowa, getting into western and northern Illinois, into Wisconsin as we head through the rest of the day today into Saturday before we quiet down. And then this area is going to be pretty quiet as we head into the remainder of the coming week. This precipitation down here, this is another push that comes in here mid to late next week across parts of the Ohio River Valley, the eastern Corn Belt, and parts of the Mid-South. We'll have to talk about that more over the next several days. As we look at the hazards map, quiet across the Corn Belt, except for the north here, where we got the blue shading. That's where we're talking about a frost advisory and a freeze warning across northern portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan. Severe weather, pretty quiet over the next few days. Again, this system slowly lifts across the midsection of the country, bringing a risk of showers and storms, but not much to work with in terms of severe weather. This thing has really spun itself down. We don't have the upper level dynamics, and we don't really have an unstable air mass out ahead of it. So again, enough to generate some rain and some thunderstorms, but we're not going to be talking about much in the way of organized severe weather over the next few days. Now let's actually watch what happens here. This is the 500 millibar winds here starting Friday morning. And again, you can see the polar jet has resumed its show here up across the Canadian prairie into eastern Canada. Here's our cutoff low just kind of spinning itself away across parts of the central plains here, moving across Wyoming, and it'll eject across the northern plains as we head through the day today. Let's go ahead and put this into motion. We'll take it through the next few days, again watching this thing slowly move off to the west, moving off to the east as we head into the weekend. This will be Saturday night, our upper level low now moving across the Great Lakes into eastern Canada and getting picked up by the main polar jet here as we get into Sunday and Monday. As we take this into early next week, we're going to see some subtle ridging across the Corn Belt. So we're going to see quiet conditions. Remember, much of the precipitation that falls over the next 7 days across the Corn Belt falls in the next 48 hours before we dry out and warm up heading into next week. Now, the next player starts to come in mid to late next week. We're getting into Wednesday and Thursday. You see this core of very strong jet stream winds here across the Canadian prairie. We're going to see an upper level low there kind of quickly move from west to east, dragging a big cold front potentially into the Corn Belt as we get to the end of next week. We've got some disagreement here between the two models, the European model and the GFS, but the trend over the last few days has been to bring the cool front into the area. So let's talk about the temperatures later. Let's talk about precipitation first. Again, watching the rain and the storms that accompany this low as it slowly moves across the midsection of the country. I'll just let it play right there so you can see what happens, and then I'll bring it back and step through with some of the timing on that rainfall. So again, we'll bring it out to Friday morning here, watching for showers and storms generally from Texas through Oklahoma up through the Central Plains here, parts of Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri, seeing that chance for some showers and storms as we head through the day today. You in Illinois are going to have to wait till the overnight until into tomorrow morning. This would be sunrise on Saturday morning. Line of thunderstorms here, a broken, kind of clustered area of showers and storms stretching from that area of low pressure across Wisconsin down along the front into the state of Illinois. This will be as we take it into noon on Saturday. Saturday evening, any outdoor plans that you got across the Corn Belt? Great weather across the west, just dodging scattered showers and storms across the eastern Corn Belt as the system moves through, and then we'll take it all the way into Sunday afternoon as this thing begins to exit the Corn Belt. By the time we get to noon on Saturday, the upper level low is in eastern Canada, and then we've got the cold front kind of just extending back this way. So by the time we get to Sunday, just the eastern Corn Belt, parts of Kentucky and Tennessee may be seeing some scattered showers and storms, but the rest of the Corn Belt should be drying out, and that drier weather should last into next week. We'll take a look a little bit longer range with the European model. Just watching again this thing quickly making its way from west to east. Well, quickly is maybe relative here, but it's going to migrate through the weekend here from west to east. Here's the picture Saturday at noon. This will be Saturday mid-afternoon, Saturday evening. Taking it into now Sunday morning, and again, similar timing here as we get into late Sunday. This thing should be exiting the Corn Belt with just Kentucky, Tennessee, and maybe eastern Ohio seeing some light rain at this point. High pressure moves in, will be quiet then, a lot of sunny skies, cool, crisp weather as we get the week started next week. A little area of low pressure scoots off to the north as we get into the middle part of the week, and then here is, as we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, a couple of things happening. First, we're starting to see some moisture coming in across the Gulf from a decaying tropical system. It's going to bring some shower and storm chances to, again, parts of the eastern Corn Belt into the Ohio River Valley. This will be the next chance for rain across parts of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Going to get to Kentucky and Tennessee. This, again, right around Thursday and Friday of next week. And then we've also got this big cold front now being advertised, sweeping into the area. That could bring an enhanced area of some rainfall here as it joins up with this tropical system across the eastern Corn Belt. Big question marks across this area here as far as how much rain we're going to see as we get to the back half of next week. But again, this area of high pressure drops in, bringing cooler temperatures and another period of dry weather. So really, as we look at the next 10 days, broken in half here, days 1 through 5, and then days 6 through 10, and this is what happens here Friday and Saturday, that heavy rainfall as the area of low pressure slowly moves out of the area. And then as we get into the back half of next week, really most concerned about areas from the southern U.S. into Kentucky and Tennessee, parts of the eastern Corn Belt along the Ohio River Valley. Again, big question marks as far as how much rain we're going to see in this area as the tropical system comes up here and that potential polar front comes diving in at the end of next week. So as we look at the next 10 days, the probability of picking up 1 inch or more of rainfall, the hot spots here are going to be, again, across this area where we see some additional rainfall over the next 48 hours. And then as we get into the end of next week, looking for the potential for some heavy rainfall across parts of the Mid-South, Kentucky and Tennessee, north into the Ohio River Valley and the eastern Corn Belt. As you head back toward the north and to the west, much drier here from the northern plains into parts of the central and southern plains, where we've seen all the cold air and the rainfall over the last week or so. Now let's look at the temperatures. Let's talk about a couple of different things. I'm going to first show you a loop of the operational European model temperature anomaly forecast. There is the next air mass or the next wave of potential cold air here. Let's look at temperatures moderating as we head through the weekend into early next week. As that upper level low finally moves out of here, we'll see temperatures once again warming across the Corn Belt, especially across the northern plains into the upper Midwest. We'll see some much warmer temperatures in those regions compared to where we are right now. But then as we get into the middle and late part of next week, September 17th and 18th, potentially watching another cold air mass dive out of the Canadian prairie into parts of the central U.S. This would be as we get into September 19th and 20th right here. Now what I want to show you is the Gfs Operational Model Run as well. Again, same thing here. We see the cooler air mass across the central U.S. modify and warm as we head into the weekend and early next week. with especially warm conditions across the Dakotas into the upper Midwest. But look what the GFS does. Here comes that next wave of cold air. The European dragging that thing down into the midsection of the country. The GFS pivoting it off to the east, keeping it north of the Great Lakes. Now, if I show you the the European ensemble model, this is picked up on a pretty strong signal of bringing in this colder air across the midsection of the country over the last couple of days. So again, still some disagreement. This is not, locked in by any stretch of the imagination, but it does fit the theme of the overall pattern, which is to send little shots of cooler and drier air from the Canadian prairie down into the central part of the country. So it fits with that theme. It would make sense with this pattern. And the trend lately has been to pivot more towards bringing that cold air down in here. Again, when I looked at things a day and a half ago, we didn't see any real signal of this cold air making it down into the Corn Belt. Now we are seeing the European model bring the cold air into the central part of the U.S., and we're also seeing the ensembles picking up on that as well. And if you'll remember, it was the GFS that caved to the European model last week. So the GFS keeping the cold air north of the area, but reasons to be suspicious of that and reasons to be talking about a potential another push of cold air into a bigger chunk of the Corn Belt as we get to the end of next week. So the summary here, just over the next week or so, if I were to try and paint a theme here, temperatures modify across the midsection of the country, across the Midwest and the Corn Belt, with another potential shot of cooler air mid to late next week. Precipitation will be heaviest in Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin over the next 3 days, and then shifting down to the Mid-South into the Ohio River Valley by the time we get into next week. We'll finish with a look at high temperatures then over the next 5 days. Again, chilly air across the midsection of the country. The last real chilly day, we will start to modify things tomorrow. Still a little bit cool as you head off toward the upper Midwest. By the time we get into Sunday, Monday, and then especially Tuesday, look at that. Summer heat resumes across the Dakotas back into the 80s and 90s, potentially watching for another shot of cool air as we get into the end of next week. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful weekend. Best of luck, too, if you're getting started with harvest. It looks like we'll have some great weather here over the next 5 to 7 days.